for China to become the world's sole superpower, only one country stands in its way: the United States. The lead ship of the U.S. Navy fleet, the $13 billion, 100,000-ton USS Gerald Ford Supercarrier, is the largest, most expensive, and most lethal aircraft carrier ever built. With the ability to host more than 75 aircraft at a time, the supercarrier packs more air power than the air forces of at least 60 different nations. Powered by two Bechtel A1B nuclear reactors, the carrier can sail the world for 25 years without refueling. Therefore, it is able to sail the world multiple times over without having to stop. A ship with truly unlimited range. On the seas, the carrier is protected by an endless inventory of built-in defenses, along with an armada of 10-plus cruisers, destroyers, frigates, and submarines. USS Gerald Ford is expected to have 9 sibling carriers just like it in its class. It is also preceded by the Nimitz class of carriers, which are of almost the same size and have similar capabilities. Without the USS Gerald Ford in the picture, they would be the largest carriers in the world. With all of these, it's quite clear that when it comes to aircraft carriers, the U.S. stands out dominantly from the rest. The country's aircraft carriers give the U.S. Navy unrivaled dominance in projecting force beyond its shores and preventing foreign fleets from getting close enough to deal damage to America. If China can sink these ships, all of these capabilities disappear and the battlefield gets drastically leveled in China's favor. China is currently working on a fleet of weapons that could make this happen, including the fastest submarine. Imagine a submarine so fast it can outrun the torpedo meant to intercept it. And China claims to produce the fastest submarines in the world, with lasers creating tiny explosions that would propel the submarine forward at previously unheard of speeds. The South China Morning Post, a Hong Kong-based newspaper, first brought the new technology of submarine propulsion to light in April 2024. According to the Post, the process uses lasers as a form of underwater propulsion to achieve not only stealth, but super-high underwater speeds that would rival jet aircraft. The concept of laser propulsion, first proposed for spacecraft in 1972, has now found its way into the depths of our oceans. In atmospheric travel, the technology is fairly straightforward and understood. The underside of an aircraft is blasted with a laser that superheats the air underneath it, creating a plasma that explodes the air and propels the craft upward. Atmospheric laser propulsion has only been tested with scale models under controlled conditions and has not resulted so far in an actual manned aircraft. Now, researchers at Harbin Engineering University propose using the same method to propel objects underwater. The process involves covering a submarine with a network of optical fibers thinner than a human hair. The fibers are then shot through with lasers powered by a 2-megawatt power source. The lasers create a plasma that vaporizes any water it comes into contact with, resulting in thrust. The vaporization also creates a shroud of bubbles the submarine can then pass through, one with much less friction than if the sub were passing through the surrounding seawater. Their innovative design involves wrapping a submarine in a web of optical fibers thinner than a human hair. These fibers, powered by a formidable 2-megawatt source, fire lasers that vaporize water on contact. The result? An impressive thrust coupled with a friction-reducing bubble shroud. We're not talking about minor improvements here. This method generates a staggering 70,000 newtons of force, rivaling the speeds of aircraft flying hundreds of miles per hour. The team, led by researcher Ge Yang, isn't shy about the potential implications. They're eyeing a major advantage for Chinese submarines and weapons, boldly claiming the possibility of faster-than-sound underwater travel combined with near-silent operation. Gone are the noisy turbines, gears, and propellers of conventional designs. It's as if they've stumbled upon the holy grail of submarine warfare, a perfect fusion of speed and stealth. But before we start envisioning fleets of invincible Chinese super subs, let's take a deep breath and consider the full picture. Traditional submarines face a fundamental limitation: cavitation. As propellers spin faster to increase speed, up to about 35 knots, they create pressure changes in the surrounding water. This pressure shift generates heat, boiling the water and leaving a trail of tiny, telltale bubbles in the sub's wake. When these bubbles burst, they create a distinctive sound akin to rocks going in a pipe, a noise that sends shivers down any submariner's spine. In the silent world of underwater warfare, this noise is a death sentence. Passive sonar systems which simply listen without transmitting can pick up cavitation noise with ease. The only real solution? Slow down and stay quiet. Submarines might risk higher speeds and the resulting noise in friendly waters, but they must crawl along in potentially hostile areas to avoid detection. This is where the laser propulsion method hits troubled waters. Sure, it might allow a Chinese submarine to outpace its American counterparts in the South China Sea, but it would be about as stealthy as a speedboat with loudspeakers. Everyone in the vicinity would know exactly where it stops, and anti-submarine aircraft would have a field day tracking its movements. The fact that this research is publicly available suggests that China doesn't see much military value in it. Compare this to the U.S. Air Force's handling of the F-117A Nighthawk stealth fighter in the 1980s. They kept it under wraps for nearly a decade, until leaks and a crash forced their hand. If this laser propulsion technology was truly revolutionary, you can bet the Chinese government would be keeping it classified. So, a hypothetical super sub faces a fatal flaw. It's fast, but it's loud. And in the submarine world, loud equals dead. The ideal remains a vessel that can move quickly and silently, a combination that continues to elude engineers. China, Russia, the US, all engaged in a silent race to develop faster, quieter ways to move submarines. The Carrier Strike Group. However, this submarine puts a real threat to the USS Gerald Ford Supercarrier. In case of a tense scenario in the South China Sea, where a Chinese submarine attempts to attack the USS Gerald R. Ford as part of an escalating geopolitical conflict, it would rely on its strike group's collective capabilities, using aircraft, surface ships, and submarines to detect, track, and destroy enemy submarines before they become a threat to the carrier. Phase 1. Detection of threat. Surface combatants in the CSG, like Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, equipped with advanced sonar systems such as the AN/SQS-53, and Virginia-class submarines patrolling below, are actively scanning for underwater contacts. Their sonar operators detect faint signals consistent with a submerged submarine. Moreover, the CSG is linked to the broader Surveillance Towed Array Sensor System, or SURTAS, providing long-range underwater detection capabilities. The system identifies unusual acoustic signatures emanating from the Chinese submarine's direction, so the Chinese submarine could be detected. Upon detection of suspicious underwater activity, the Carrier Strike Group immediately launches MH-60R Seahawk helicopters from the USS Gerald Ford and nearby destroyers. The Seahawks deploy sonobuoys and begin using their dipping sonar to pinpoint the exact location of the enemy submarine. Phase 2. Response. With confirmation of the submarine's location, the CSG switches to active sonar to actively ping and track the submarine. This alerts the Chinese submarine that it has been detected, but it's too late for it to escape unnoticed. If the Chinese submarine attempts evasive maneuvers by diving deeper and releasing decoys to confuse sonar systems, or prepares to launch torpedoes or anti-ship missiles at the Gerald Ford, the countermeasures would be executed. Phase 3. Countermeasures and attack. The U.S. Navy's Virginia-class attack submarine operating covertly in the area detects the Shang-class submarine via its advanced sonar systems. Using its Mk-48 torpedoes, it locks onto the Chinese submarines and fires a salvo. Meanwhile, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer closes in on the submarine's position, launching Mk-54 lightweight torpedoes into the water. The destroyer's advanced Aegis combat system ensures the CSG has real-time targeting data to engage effectively. The MH-60R helicopters drop additional Mk-54 torpedoes into the water to increase the odds of destroying the submarine. The CSG deploys Nixie-towed decoys from destroyers and cruisers to lure away any incoming torpedoes fired by the Chinese submarine. The electronic warfare, or EW systems on the Ticonderoga-class cruiser also begin jamming signals that could guide any anti-ship missiles toward the Gerald Ford. After several minutes of intense evasion, one of the Mk-48 torpedoes fired by the Virginia-class submarine strikes the Chinese submarine. A deep, underwater explosion is detected, and the submarine's acoustic signature disappears from the sonar systems, confirming its destruction. The strike group continues to patrol and monitor the area for any additional submarines or threats. China just might have reason to be worried. At this point, who doesn't? But should the need arise, the U.S. supercarrier will be available once again to return to the region and police the war. And this time, it could do so with a groundbreaking carrier strike group. To bring it victory faster, the U.S. Navy asks that you subscribe to this channel and give this video a like. So do that now, and thanks for watching.